money is not everything. Spending time with your children and making sure that they know that you love them, and my children know I'm their biggest fan. If they know that I'm going to do everything I can to be at that baseball game or to cheer them on or to be at that school trip. Time is more important than money any day of the week.
Hello and welcome to Along the Way Life's Journey, where we bring you truly incredible guests with stories of inspiration and motivation. And we have a wonderful guest today. But first, I want to remind you to like and subscribe. It will help us a lot. Now to our guest. He is Danielle Christina Melissa Coleman, born and raised on Long Island, New York. She earned her associate degree in paralegal studies at Briarcliffe College, Bachelor's of Business from University of Phoenix, and is currently pursuing a certified paralegal certificate. Her objective is to be an advocate to assist children and elderly. She has been a residential coordinator running 5 group homes for the developmentally disabled adults and children. She has worked for the US Census Bureau for the past 13 years as a field supervisor, training and conducting surveys for numerous departments of the United States government, i.e. Justice Department, Department of Labor and Statistics, and HUD, as well as Clerk of Hillsboro County for all elections. Sounds like a driven career woman, doesn't it? But the rest of the story is equally amazing. She's a single mom raising a blended family of 6 children, adopted and natural, and each are great students, determined to succeed in careers of business, sports, and the arts, all while being just plain great kids. Now, I know I sound in awe of this young woman, and I am, I'll admit it. To be transparent, she's my niece and godchild. And I, for one, think she is amazing and always have. Please welcome Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. You're very formal and stiff right now. Usually she says, "Hi, Uncle Cole," but not this time. Okay. But that's because there's thousands of people watching us. I understand
Right.
that. You got to be a little more formal, less relaxed.
I'm usually a loudmouth Italian from New York, but try to be
no, you're not. You're a wonderful, gracious lady. You really are. I'm so proud of you. I really am. This young lady she's truly the meaning of having a big heart. There's nothing that happens that desires and needs support and attention that Danielle fails to attend to. And I can tell you that right up front. When my mother, her grandmother, was very ill in her later years and needed daily support, I lived on the other side of the state, and Danielle lived close to her, and she visited her virtually daily. An amazing task, considering all you had to do. You have a list of accomplishments and efforts. I don't know how you squeeze all that into 24 hours. I really don't.
That was worth it because I got to spend time with my grandmother, so it was definitely worth everything.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about Dee Dee growing up, because you're Danielle today, but you've always been my Dee Dee. Tell us about Dee Dee growing up.
I grew up on Long Island with 2 brothers and a sister. I had 2 families. My parents were divorced, but I was lucky and blessed to have 2 families. Avid Mets fan. I enjoyed always taking care of kids. When I grew up, if you would have asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have told you a mother first and a lawyer second. So the mother part, we got down pat. We're still working on the lawyer part after all these years. Baseballs and cooking are probably, besides family, cooking and baseball are probably my true passions in life. I'm just very blessed. I can't, a lot of things have happened along the way, but God has always, always blessed me. My single mom of 6 kids, I live in a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, and my children are excelling in everything they do. So I know that's God.
They certainly are. They're top of the class at everything, in scholastics and sports and the arts. Every one of them is a superstar. You really have fantastic children. I love your children. I like spending time with them. I really do.
They're a little bit smarter than me, but I didn't even tell you that Mariana wants to be a doctor, and she just got invited to a seminar for the Future Doctors of America. She's in 10th grade and the top 10% of all of Florida, the state of Florida, academically.
Amazing. And a beautiful child. Beautiful girl. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so you grew up on Long Island. You got your education. You had a heart for children and disabled people, and you went into group homes, and you you coordinated 5 of them at one time, I think, wasn't it?
I, yeah,
Amazing
I worked
task.
with developmentally disabled adults and children for probably over 20 years. And I was a manager. So I started off working one-on-one hands-on with them. Then I became an assistant manager, then a manager, then a residential coordinator. And I definitely think in life that's important to start at the bottom, because then, as a supervisor, the people that work under you know that you're not asking them to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. And that's always been um, very important for all the teams that I've led in my
And
life.
you learned all the shortcuts coming up from the bottom, so you know what to look out for when you're on
No,
top.
exactly. Exactly what to do. And I've always been the type of person that I want to be at the top, but if you made me a garbage man, I'd be the best garbage man I could ever be. It doesn't matter what it is. I always want to be the best.
And I know that a couple of your children are avid in sports, football and baseball, and you're the equivalent of a soccer mom, a baseball mom. You go to all the games, but you still find time to run the hot dog stand at the games. It's amazing.
Well, it's a lot. I don't know how, like I said, that's all God. I don't know how it works out. We just had the 8U rec draft last night, and it stresses me out like it's the MLB, because if I got to be with these people every weekend, I want my kid to get on a team with people I like, at least. So it worked out last night. My 7-year-old plays up to 8U. He was born on the baseball field, so I definitely see him excelling even more than his brothers did, already. But baseball is my first love. My middle son loves football. I didn't know anything about it, but thankfully he's also very, very smart and gifted, and he made me a PowerPoint. So he showed me what I needed to know about football, because I had no clue. But Jaden is very smart. He made me a PowerPoint and taught me a little bit about football. And I last year was our first full season of tackle football, and it was great.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about your family, because I know the folks that are watching in heard me say in your introduction that you're a single parent raising 6 children in a blended family, and they are both adopted, natural, and interracial. So
Yes.
you have the composite of the world in your home.
Mm-hmm.
You have white, Black, Hispanic children. You have children that were naturally born to you and children that you adopted. One child came to you as a little bitty baby with a drug problem from her mother, right? And
Yes.
you still took that on and embraced that task. Tell us about that, because that had to be well, I guess for you it wasn't a big decision. You just
Well,
decided.
honestly, I was, believe it or not, even though I'm the biological parent of 5 that I gave birth to, when I first got married to my first husband, we had fertility issues. We couldn't have children, and that's all I ever wanted my whole life.
Yeah.
So we became foster parents for kids with special needs, because that was my job, was working with group homes. So I went through a program. The Mentor was the name of the agency, and we became foster parents, and specifically to take in children with special needs. I had twin foster sons for 2.5 years. One of them had, he's mentally learning delayed, developmentally disabled is the politically correct way to say it nowadays. But I had them for 2.5 years. They called us mommy and daddy, but we helped them. Their parents really loved them. And when that's the case, you really want them to be reunified with their parents. Christina, her biological mother, lives in one of my group homes. When she was pregnant, I was actually pregnant at the same time. I had a miscarriage. She did not. When Christina was 5 weeks old, she was removed from her biological mother, and they knew me and asked me to take her. So that's how Christina she wasn't developmentally delayed at that point. She was only 5 weeks old, but they knew I was a foster parent and they wanted me to take her. And then the rest is history. I mean, I tried to help her mom reunify, but her mom had an IQ of 49. She was not able to take care of herself, let alone a child. They told me Christina was going to be developmentally disabled, have all kinds of problems. And in fact, she was reading at 2 years old. Again, God said that's not going to be. She does have some mental health issues now once she hit puberty, but I mean, she's still very smart. She's not everything that they said she's going to be. And she's going to be 18 years old in February, believe it or not. And she's been with me since she was 5 weeks old when that happened. So after we adopted her, of course, we got pregnant.
Of course, that's what God does.
That's how it works.
That's what he does. He gives you do an incredible thing, and he says, "Oh yeah, watch this one."
And so, I prayed for many years for kids, Uncle Cole, and I had to start praying for God to stop answering those prayers.
I know, I know. But when you got Christina, she was born to a drug addicted mother, and so she was
mentally retarded. Yes.
So she was born with a cocaine addiction as well, wasn't she?
She was born with her mother was on more of not cocaine, but on like psychotropic medication.
Yeah.
So because she had bipolar and mood disorders and all kinds of stuff like that. But her main issue was she had an IQ of about 49. She was not able to. We tried to help her, but there was no way that she. But a lot of my foster children that did come to me were addicted to drugs. We fostered over 15 children in the course of the 10 years that we were foster parents. So Christina's the only one I adopted, but we did have babies come straight from the hospital with cocaine addictions.
That has to be a very difficult thing to take a child into your heart, into your arms, and then recognize you've done as much as you can and you have to hand it back out.
And you know what?
That's amazing.
As much as I love the child, this is how I look at it. As much as I love them, I can imagine, like, my foster sons were 6 when I got them, and their parents loved them too. They just needed some help, and they did everything. There's some parents, there's 2 types of parents when you do foster care. There's a type of parents that will just let their kid linger in the foster care system, let the state take care of them and not do anything to get them back. And then there's the parents like my twin foster sons, who I'm still friends. Their mother is still my friend to this day, and they're in their 20s now. And their mom did everything she could to get them back because she loved them. So parents make mistakes. It's I don't condone child abuse by any means, but I can understand if you have a little bit of a screw loose. I mean, I've lived it in my own life, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of a mental problem and your child gets out of hand. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah. I understand that. I understand that. We are, after all, only human. There's a stretch to our capacity, and after a point, we just have to turn it over and say, I can't do this,
Exactly. And especially if you're young and you have a lot of kids, and you have a lot of responsibility, it could be rough. But I loved being a foster parent. I love taking care of all the kids that I did, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them today.
Amazing. Really amazing. And you said you volunteered that you came from a divorced parents. My sister is your mother, and I still call him my brother, but my ex-brother-in-law, your father, Kenny, was a wonderful guy, and it's just they were very young when they were married, and
Polar opposites.
Polar opposites, and as time would have it, they went on. It was better for them that they divorced and went on to other lives and enriching lives. They both went on to better lives.
Yeah, and they get along better today than they did when they were young. They were 19 when they had me, and they already had a child. So it was rough, but they definitely are doing much better today. And they get along. We could celebrate Christmas together, which is great.
That's wonderful. That really is wonderful. Because I love your dad. And of course I love your mother. She's my sister. But I love your dad as well. So you are now living in a wonderful part of Florida on the West Coast. Thank God the hurricane didn't do any damage where you were.
Yeah, thank God. We got very lucky with that.
Yeah. And you have children in different schools. I've been visiting you at times when got to get up early in the morning because got to go to this school, then we got to go to that school. And
this year we have 3. Last year we had 4. So I have a break this year from middle school, which is very nice.
Yeah. And I remember that you had it down to the minute. If we don't get on that particular road by this time, we're going to be blocked in traffic.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, all the schools are within 5 miles of here, but the problem is they get out at the same time, and a lot of parents drive. So you have to time it exactly right. But I'm kind of a pro at that. I've had kids at this elementary school now for 14 years. So I have 3 still in the elementary school, but I mean, I've been going elementary, middle, and high school, and I live in a very nice neighborhood. I'm very, very blessed. My kids have a lot of great role models, multicultural role models. I purposely put my son in the football league that has a lot of strong Black men, so he can see that his, father's not a good example, and that there are good men out there that can show him how to be a man. And that, the baseball side is, I'm not going to lie, it's mostly white men, and so he has both sides. And I did that on purpose. I put him in this particular football league because I want him to see that there are strong Black role models out there, and that's why he plays football for that league.
Right. And the further he progresses in the sports, he's going to learn that more and more because there are a lot of great role models. A lot of great.
Yeah, there are. And my kids are so lucky. Like, they're adopted by these men. Like, they don't have to be out there helping them, and they do. They're very, very blessed in that way.
Okay, so you are now in a position where the world is changing daily. The schools are teaching kids things that I'm sure you don't agree with, like I don't agree with, and they're failing to teach them things. They pulled off this pandemic that conned the world, and they took the kids out of social environments and out of schools, and everybody I mean, it's a known fact that the scholastic ability in the United States dropped like about 15 or 12 countries worth over that period of time. And yet your children are excelling. They're
You know,
excelling.
it was very hard during COVID. I'm so blessed. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you know this about me, but I have no party affiliation. I work for the elections and I am registered as an NPA. That means no party affiliation. And before the election, I probably leaned a little bit more Democratic because of certain issues, but I don't believe in abortion. There's certain things that this whole pandemic was horrible mentally especially for Christina, mental health wise. It was even Mariana, who excels in everything. I mean, she was playing on FaceTime with her friends, the game of life. Like they couldn't be together. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So through the pandemic, I'm so happy that I live in Florida where we're free. Our kids get to go to school. They've been back in school. I had 6 kids in 4 different schools. None of us are vaccinated and none of us have gotten COVID. Not one of us ever. And not that I don't believe COVID is real. I do, but I believe my kids take vitamins. We have strong immune systems. A lot of kids are going back to school now. There's flu going around because
Sure.
their immune systems got crushed because of this.
Yeah.
So I am so happy. If you would have asked me 3 years ago, I would have been like, oh, I wish I could move back to New York. I am never going back to New York. I'm so glad I live in Florida. So glad Ron DeSantis is our governor. I'm so glad that we get to make a choice as parents. This whole don't say gay thing, not that I'm talking about, I love everybody, but there is no reason for kindergarten through 3rd grade to be taught about
Absolutely
sexual
not. They
None.
and I think it's a travesty that they think they have the right to even address it with these children without the parents' consent. I
No,
think
not
that's terrible.
It's
Terrible.
horrible. And they try to make it seem like it's something that it's not. And my daughter Christina, I don't even know if you know this, she struggles with sexuality. I love her, but I really believe, and she gets mad at me when I say this, there was always people that had different ideas and, gay people, straight people, whatever, my whole life. But now the kids her age, because they have to choose at 10 years old. Like you need to decide, it's
But
ridiculous.
that's the point. This stupid environment has told them they have to, and they don't have to.
It's
They
like they're
shouldn't even be
brainwashed.
thinking about it until later in life.
There's no reason. Listen, if I think about, first of all, at 10 years old, I didn't even know, anything about that. Nowadays they do. It's so different, but they teach them in school to think about those things. And that's why I also like living here, because I'm the parent. I'm the right one who gets to decide when my children learn about these things. I'm the one who should be teaching them those, not somebody in school and they're not even telling me. If my kid comes to you and they have an issue with sexuality, God, maybe it's something happened to them. And that's why they have this
That's
problem.
right.
Like, I need to know about it. So I really am thankful that I live here and that I have the right to choose. And, I believe COVID's real. I believe that I believe that it was planted? Most likely, but I think that it got out of control. And I think that everybody has the right to decide, well, my kids turn 18, Uncle Cole. If they want to get the shot, that's up to them. They can do what they want. But I'm, as their parent, with fertility issues and all the stuff that I think is going to come of this, and all the people now, so many people dying of cardiac arrest and all that.
Young
I'm not
people, cardiac arrest that should never happen.
all every day, and
Yeah.
I'm not doing that to my kids. That's
And
not my decision to make.
And your cousin Bob, who was a Broward
nurse.
Sheriff's Department for years, and then he became a nurse afterwards. He's an advocate of what you're saying. He says,
I know. I talk
know,
to him all the
this is
time.
really terrible, really terrible.
I know, and he sees it happening. As a nurse, he sees it happening. And
Yeah.
working for the federal government, there was a big press for me to get the shot. They were threatening to fire us and then they made us get tested every week. Do you know that now? Nothing. Like I never got the shot, but now all of a sudden it's gone. Like we don't have to do anything. So I held out. I didn't get the shot. I didn't get fired, and here we are. They just asked me at Walgreens the other day, they don't make you get tested anymore? Nope. I haven't heard a word about nothing. Nothing.
The only thing that I was suggested to take this year, they said, and I've never taken, I haven't taken it for 25 years. They said, take a flu shot because this flu this year is really bad.
It is bad.
And at my age, after all, I'm a senior citizen, way up there on the calendar. And they said, you shouldn't risk it. So for the first time in 25 years, I took a flu shot, and I'm glad I did.
Well, let me tell you something. If I was older, when this was all coming around, if I had health issues, I was older. So I think that even with the COVID shot, you got to decide if the risk outweighs the,
Absolutely.
so I'm
Absolutely.
not saying there are some people maybe that their health, their immune systems are so bad that they should do this. I've never even gotten a flu shot. My son Jaden just had 104 fever. And Micah was sick, sleeping next to me, sneezing on me, coughing on me. I have like kindergarten teacher immunity because I've had so many kids.
Yeah,
I
I
don't get
understand.
sick.
I
So I'm going to go
understand.
get a COVID shot for what?
Yeah.
So
Prolonged exposure to many very different people
exactly.
develop and a what's the word I'm searching for? An
Strong
immunity and
Yep.
a natural immunity, and I think that we don't treasure that enough in this country anymore. Okay, so now you got all these kids, and here we come. We have a recession. The prices of everything are going up like crazy. The dollar's worth less, tougher and tougher. What are you doing to make ends meet?
Well, I've
As
always
an
been,
American mom in charge of it, the whole thing on your own, what are you doing to make things meet?
well, first, let me just tell you, and I hate to say this about myself, but I am kind of a two-time loser. My older kid's dad is involved. He helps with rides and stuff, and he's always on time with his child support. I don't even have to ask him. He's there. He was just here last night. He helps out a lot.
Terrific young man. I know him well.
We're
Terrific.
really good friends. He's a great guy. Don't have to worry about him. Now, my younger three, unfortunately, I was very much in love with their dad. We got divorced about 2 years ago. Not involved at all. Hasn't seen his kids. Had to go through child support to get his check garnished, and it's really not much. But I am definitely a hustler. Even if I was a millionaire, I don't think I could sit still for, anything. So I do different surveys for the Census Bureau, and which is great because I work around my kids' schedules. I get caseload every month, or if I have to do trainings or whatever, I get it. And then I can make my own schedule. So if the kids got baseball, I know, let me get my stuff done Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because the rest of the week I'm not going to have time. I work for the elections, every election. As a matter of fact, the Tampa election's coming up in March. I can't vote in it, but I'm working it as a clerk. So because I don't vote I don't live in the city of Tampa, so I can't vote in it. But anytime I have a chance to make a dollar, I'm very happy. I'm finally a federal employee, so I'm going to have federal retirement, federal benefits, medical benefits, and all that for my kids. I just do what I can. I am blessed. I don't know if you know this, but my house is paid off. I live in $1 million house.
I do know. I do know.
So
God
that's
bless.
God. That's not
Yeah.
me. My
God
kids
bless.
live a lifestyle. Honestly, without being blessed. Years ago, I helped a lady who was an alcoholic with her child. She was going through something, and I didn't do it for anything other than I didn't know she had money at the time. So fast forward 20 years, she moved to Florida, moved in with me, bought a beautiful house, moved out, gave me the house. So I'm blessed. I live in a really nice home in a really nice area. My kids are more blessed than they'll ever know. But I'm always hustling. I'm always doing something because there's always need. One of the reasons I'm working in the concession stand, I'm getting free football. They asked me to run the concession stand. I don't pay for football.
I love it.
So that's one of the reasons why I do it.
I love
he
it.
saw me. He saw me. I had all my kids in there, and I was helping one night, and I was like, "Nikki, do this." I was giving all the orders, telling him what to do, and taking the money. He's like, "Danielle, I think you would be great. Like, can you just run the organization for us?" And I said, "Sure." He goes, "I'll give you free football if you do it for anybody who wants to play." And then on the baseball side, I do the same thing. I'm a team mom. I work in the dugout. So I don't have to pay the fees for there's park cleanup and there's concession. You have to pay fees if you don't volunteer.
Yeah.
So because I don't have time to do that, I'm the dugout mom. I'm the one who's, controlling the chaos, and the team mom, making sure everybody's getting what they need. So I find little ways to save money. I try to cook and think of I made chicken cutlets on Monday night. I made enough so that on Tuesday I can make salad. Just little things. Eggs are so expensive right now. Everybody's talking about eggs. You got to be careful you got to just have a plan. That's how I do it.
The zeal of this show is along the way life's journey. And what it means is, for myself, what it meant, and hopefully for you, along the way, I've met people that have inspired me and motivated me and taught me things that helped me to be more than I am on my own. And hopefully I can pass that on to other people and inspire other people. So we're at that point in the show where I'm going to ask you, who in your life has inspired you? And what messages did they give you that you can pass on to other people at this point?
Well, I could say there's a couple of people. As far as my love of family, I'm going to say this. You probably have inspired me really about that. I know how much you love family. And so there's two parts, professionally, family wise. family is so important to me. I want my kids to grow up and love each other. I love being around the table and cooking for them. And my grandmother, the love of cooking came from her. Like I don't measure. I just sprinkle until the voices of my ancestors tell me enough. When I'm cooking, because she can never give me a recipe, but I stood next to her every time she cooked, and when I smell the basil or I smell the sauce, I think of my grandmother. Like that is just an overwhelming smell, and I think of Sundays around the table with my family. And I mean, even your son Bob, like I didn't really grow up with him because you guys were in Florida, I was in New York, but we're close now. I talk to him all the time. We message back and forth and keep in touch, thank God, through Facebook. But family is important to me. And I definitely think you, as one of the elders in my family, has taught me that. And I think grandma really taught me that. And even my grandfather, who passed away when I was 5, I have fond memories of holidays. And, I see in my daughter Mariana, my Aunt Maria, with the wanting to decorate and, loving Christmas. And they get that from grandpa and from my Aunt Maria. It's not really even from me, because sometimes I feel like I don't have a lot of time to do all that. But Mariana has all that. And Mariana's named, I don't know if you know, but she's named for Maria and Marion.
Yeah.
Aunt Maria and
Yeah.
my grandmother Marion both passed away. So we put Mariana with my first biological child was named after them.
Right.
So that's that. But as far as, when it comes to God and being inspired, like in my own faith, I would say, believe it or not, there's a lot of elder Black women that have been very inspiring in my life. And I tell my children all the time, you need to find a good, I don't know what it, and I asked my friend, her name is Donna Cantive and, Katrina Hard, those are 2 people I could say, like, what is it about a Black woman more so that I feel like they have the faith and the they pour into me in a way that no other people have. And like, if I need somebody to pray for me, that's who I'm calling. And they've just been through it, and they know what it's like to have to put their faith in God 100%. And, I'm very inspired by them. As far as, there's been times when I pulled away from God. I mean, even with this divorce recently, I was very, it's not what I wanted. I was very much in love with my husband, but God's calling me back. And I didn't even tell you this, but I'm really being called to the prison ministry. I want to help families. Like, I just keep seeing these videos of them, just people in jail worship like they're free. People that are free worship like they're in jail. It's crazy to me. If you watch the way they're just praising God and worshiping, I'm like, I want what they have, and they're in jail. So I really want to help them. That's my next thing. My next ambition is to do some, but so there's a couple of really strong Black women in my life. And then there's, my family, though. That's who's inspired me. I can't say that my mom or my dad, I didn't have that kind of relationship, but watching, you with your family, even seeing things and, the vacations and the just spending time with your kid, like that's what I want. I always want to be there for my kids and them to know that no matter what, they can come to me for anything. So I don't know if that answers the question. I know we rambled a little bit, but
No, that's fine. So if you were to give a young family or a young mother one bit of advice today on what to do, on what we're facing and how to handle it, what would it be?
I think that you have to make sure you keep your kids close and make sure that they know that they can come to you with anything. And what's going on in this world might be scary, but as long as they know where they're going in the end, that's going to be the most important thing. But, just always know what's going on in your kids' lives. Don't be their buddy, but make sure that they know you love them no matter what. No matter what's going on in their lives. I think sometimes even with Christina, she's my oldest, she's adopted. She has some mental health issues that ran in her family, but even when she acts out or she's upset or we have issues, she knows I'm the one that's going to be there for her. And I think if young families, first of all, money is not everything. Spending time with your children and making sure that they know that you love them, and my children know I'm their biggest fan. If they know that I'm going to do everything I can to be at that baseball game or to cheer them on or to be at that school trip. Time is more important than money any day of the week. And just making sure your kids know they can trust you with anything they have to tell you, especially with what's going on today, because the outside influences are horrible. Horrible. I mean, you walk into any school today, the biggest fear for a parent is a school shooting right now. Like every day you have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Last week at my son's school, they were making him go through metal detectors because there was a threat that somebody brought a gun. So, I mean, it happens all the time. That's just they're facing so much with social media and gun violence and the sexuality that they're trying to push on them compared to when I was a kid. I mean, we went outside and played kickball or baseball. We didn't have the pressures of social media. Kids bullied you. They were going to bully you in your face, not like, try to talk about you all over the internet, and it's very far reaching. Or people just know what your kids are doing, know what they're doing on their phones. I pick my battles. I'm not going to go upstairs and deal with, Christina's room might be a mess. But right now, with her mental health struggles, I want her to graduate from high school. So we're working on that.
Yeah.
So
you have to ask yourself, how important is it? It's much more important to keep her off TikTok than it is to pick up the stuff off the floor.
100%.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
got to pick your battles. Sometimes I don't even go upstairs, honestly, because I don't want to argue about the dirty messy rooms. I just stay downstairs, and then, once every 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, we got to make sure we take care of it. But pick your battles 100%. And don't bring, if there's single moms out there, I see time and time again, women, do I miss having a partner? Yes. But don't bring men into your kids' lives because, make sure you know them. Or even men, don't bring women into your kids' lives. Make sure you know who you're around your kids.
That's right. Because they will never love your children the way you do.
Never. It's very
many of them resent their kids, so.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to treat your kids when you're not around. And I just think it's real. Right now, my main focus is raising my kids. I mean, if a single dad shows up on the baseball field or the football field, maybe we could talk. But I mean, it would take a lot for me to bring anybody into my kids' lives again. A lot.
You're a very bright woman.
Get yourself some cats. Get yourself some cats. If you're single, just get some cats.
I have a cat and I'm married.
I love my cats. I love my cats. They're the best.
Okay, folks, here we are down at the end of another show. And I want to say to you, is there any wonder that I love this girl? She has touched my heart from the time she was just a little baby. But as she grows and she's matured and she's become more and more of a competent, reaching, loving person, she's such an example. I just love her. And I hope that you gained something from the show today. I hope you've enjoyed being on the show today.
I did enjoy it. I enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you so much for having me again.
Because
I'm honored.
And I'm honored to have you.
I'm about to turn 50, Uncle Carl. 50.
Oh, my goodness. I have shoes older than you.
50 years old.
This birthday, I'm going to be 81.
Wow.
Big difference.
Well, look how good you look. You look great for your age. Doing great.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel good. I feel good. I feel good. That's the love of a good God and the love of a good woman. That's what does that for me. We are going to close off for today now. And I'm going to remind you that we do a new show every Wednesday morning. And we come out with wonderful guests such as Dee. And if you know anyone that you think would be an appropriate guest for the show, please do write in. Tell us if it's you, tell us about your story. But the important thing is to remember, you have your own story. Everybody has their story, and no one can tell it like you do. Write it down. Tell it to your friends. Tell it to your family. Tell everybody before it's too late, because when it's too late, it's too late. The world will benefit from what you have to give. Everything you've experienced, everything that you've felt that you think is a little unusual, and you say to yourself, why me, God? Those things are motivators for other people. Make sure you tell people about it. And remember, I tell you every week, if there is one essential in life, if you do nothing else, do this. Love somebody today. Hug them. Tell them you love them. Tell them how important they are to you. Because that's all we got. That's all we have, folks.
I agree.
Dee, any last words?
Nope. Thank you. I love you. And hopefully I'll see you soon.
Okay, Dawn. Kiss the kids for me. Bachi, bachi. Bye-bye.
I will, Uncle Carl. Love you.
Bye-bye.